The atmosphere at BTS's Day 1 concert in Arlington took an unexpectedly emotional turn when Jimin appeared to notice a young army girl at the edge of the stage. The little fan, who was reportedly battling cancer, had been watching the concert from close to the stage. And what happened next left the entire stadium overwhelmed with emotion. In the middle of the performance, Jimin made his way toward the end of the stage and approached the young army. Instead of simply waving or acknowledging her from a distance, he stopped directly in front of her and gently leaned down to give her a kiss. The touching gesture immediately drew an emotional reaction from the surrounding audience. For a moment, the energy inside the stadium seemed to change completely. Fans who had been singing and cheering suddenly became emotional as they watched Jimin show such a tender gesture toward the young girl. Many armies appeared to be moved to tears, turning an already unforgettable concert night into a deeply personal moment. But Jimin's kindness did not end there. After spending a moment with the young army, he turned around and headed toward the backstage area. At first, fans were left wondering where he was going and whether the emotional interaction had already come to an end. Then, to everyone's surprise, Jimin returned from backstage carrying a small keychain. He walked back toward the same young army and personally handed the gift to her, creating an even more emotional moment that the audience could hardly believe they were witnessing. The young fan's reaction made the scene even more touching. Surrounded by thousands of armies, she received the unexpected gift directly from Jimin, while the stadium erupted in cheers and emotional reactions. For many fans, it was a reminder that even during a massive concert, a small gesture of kindness can become one of the most unforgettable moments of the entire night. Jimin's unexpected interaction with the young army quickly became one of the most emotional moments of BTS's Arlington Day 1 concert. From the kiss at the edge of the stage to his decision to return backstage and bring her a special keychain, the moment showed a deeply compassionate side of Jimin that left an entire stadium fighting back tears. For that young army, however, the memory may become something she carries with her for a very long time. The concert was filled with energy as BTS performed in front of thousands of passionate armies in Arlington. The crowd was singing along, waving light sticks, and cheering loudly as the performance continued. Everything felt like a celebration until Jimin suddenly appeared to notice someone at the far end of the stage. For a brief moment, Jimin's attention seemed to shift, away from the performance and toward a young army, standing near the edge of the stage. His expression appeared to change as he looked in her direction, creating a noticeable contrast with the excitement that had filled the stadium just moments earlier. As Jimin began moving closer, the atmosphere around that section of the venue seemed to become increasingly emotional. Fans nearby appeared to realize that something special was happening, with some turning their attention toward the young girl and Jimin instead of the ongoing performance. What made the moment even more touching was that Jimin did not simply wave before continuing with the show. He appeared to take his time, approaching the young army and interacting with her directly, rather than treating the encounter as a quick acknowledgement from the stage. He seemed determined to give her a meaningful moment amid the enormous concert. For those watching, the interaction felt remarkably personal. In the middle of a massive BTS concert filled with thousands of people, Jimin appeared to pause and give his attention to one young fan who had captured his notice. What happened next would make the already emotional atmosphere at Arlington Day 1 even more unforgettable. But then, something unexpected happened. After sharing the touching moment with the young army, Jimin suddenly turned around and began walking toward the backstage area. The audience could only watch as he disappeared from view, leaving many fans wondering why he had decided to step away in the middle of the performance. For a few moments, no one seemed to know what Jimin was planning. The concert continued, but the unusual turn of events had already captured the attention of fans near the stage. Was he simply returning to prepare for the next part of the show? Or was there something else behind his sudden decision? Then, moments later, Jimin appeared again. But this time he was carrying something in his hand. The sight immediately sparked curiosity among the fans watching from the audience, especially those who had witnessed his earlier interaction with the young army. Jimin slowly made his way back toward the same area at the edge of the stage. As he approached the young fan once again, the atmosphere became even more emotional. Fans began realizing that his trip backstage may not have been just a routine part of the performance. And then came the reveal. Jimin had returned with a small keychain, which he personally handed to the young army. What had started as a brief interaction had suddenly turned into a deeply touching moment, leaving fans wondering whether this small gift might become one of the most treasured memories from her night at the BTS concert. The moment Jimin returned and handed the small gift to the young army, the atmosphere around the stage appeared to change instantly. Fans nearby could be seen reacting emotionally, with some cheering, others raising their phones to capture the touching scene, and many appearing visibly moved by what they had just witnessed. For the armies who were close enough to see the interaction, it was more than just another moment during a BTS concert. The combination of Jimin's earlier gesture and his decision to return with something for the young fan made the encounter feel unexpectedly personal. The stadium was filled with emotional reactions as fans watched the moment unfold. Some fans appeared to struggle to hold back their tears while recording the scene. Others could be heard cheering as Jimin gave the young army his gift. Their reactions reflected how deeply the moment seemed to resonate with people who were watching, not simply because Jimin was giving something away, but because he had seemingly gone out of his way to make the young fan feel remembered. It was only a small keychain, but in that moment, the gift seemed to carry something much bigger. It represented a personal memory created in the middle of a massive BTS concert, something the young army could potentially keep long after the lights of the Arlington Stadium had gone dark. And perhaps that is what made the moment so emotional. Among thousands of fans, flashing lights, loud music, and the excitement of a BTS concert, Jimin's simple gesture created a quiet memory that stood out from the rest of the night. For the young army, that little keychain may become far more than a souvenir. It could forever remind her of the moment. Jimin stopped, came back, and made sure she received something special. Fans who witnessed the interaction quickly began describing it as one of the most emotional moments of BTS's Arlington Day 1 concert. Across the audience, many armies appeared deeply touched as they watched Jimin return to the young fan and personally give her the small gift. For those who had captured the moment on their phones, it became a scene they were eager to share with fellow fans. What made the moment particularly powerful was the contrast between the scale of the concert and the intimacy of the interaction. Tens of thousands of people had gathered to see BTS perform, yet Jimin's attention became focused on one young army, standing near the edge of the stage. In the middle of such a massive event, the moment suddenly felt surprisingly personal. And to many fans, Jimin's actions seemed to show that the young army was not simply another face in the crowd. He appeared to notice her, approach her, spend time with her, and then return with a gift specifically for her. That sequence made the interaction feel much more meaningful than a brief wave or acknowledgement from the stage. Fans watching from nearby could only look on as the world-famous performer shared such a personal moment with a young fan. The contrast was striking. One of the biggest stars in the world standing on a massive stage, surrounded by thousands of people, yet taking a moment to make one child feel seen and remembered. For armies, that may be why the encounter continued to resonate even after the performance moved on. The music, choreography, and spectacle were all part of the concert, but this quiet interaction created a different kind of memory. And for the young army at the center of it all, Jimin's unexpected gesture may become one of the most unforgettable moments of her Arlington night. As the concert continued and the lights returned to the stage, the emotional weight of the moment did not seem to disappear. For the fans who witnessed it, Jimin's interaction with the young army became more than just a brief interruption during a performance. It became a moment that many could imagine remembering long after the final notes of the concert had faded. The small keychain may have looked like a simple gift, but its meaning was far greater in that particular moment. It carried the memory of Jimin noticing the young fan, approaching her, and then making the unexpected decision to return, backstage before coming back with something special for her. For the young ARMY, the experience was undoubtedly unlike an ordinary concert memory. Instead of simply watching BTS from the audience, she became part of a deeply personal moment that unfolded directly, in front of thousands of people. Every time she looks at that small keepsake, it could potentially remind her of the night Jimin came back just to give it to her. And perhaps that is what made ARMY so emotional. In a concert filled with spectacular performances, bright lights, loud cheers, and unforgettable songs, it was a quiet act of kindness that captured so much attention. Jimin may have only spent a short amount of time with her, but the emotional impact of those few moments appeared to reach far beyond the stage. For Jimin, it may have been a brief moment during a long concert, but for that young ARMY, it could become a memory that lasts far beyond the final song. Years from now, the music from Arlington Day 1 may fade into the background, but the memory of Jimin stopping for her, returning with a gift, and making her feel seen could remain one of the most precious moments from that unforgettable night